Imagine building a feature, testing it thoroughly, and then ripping it straight back out of the codebase because it was simply too dangerous to ship. Now imagine putting it back in. That is precisely the story on the XRP Ledger this morning, Saturday the 1st of August, 2026. CoinDesk reported shortly after 7 o'clock UK time today that a fresh XRP Ledger upgrade reintroduces functionality that had previously been withdrawn after critical bugs were uncovered. For a network that has been settling transactions continuously since 2012, and which closes a brand new ledger roughly every 3 to 5 seconds, that is not a small housekeeping note. The XRP Ledger does not push updates the way a phone app quietly updates overnight. Nothing activates unless the validators themselves agree to it. So when features that were once pulled suddenly reappear in a release, it tells you a great deal about how much engineering competence has been rebuilt behind the scenes. To understand today's news, you need to understand why anything gets removed at all. On most blockchains, a serious bug in live code means real money is at risk immediately, with no undo button. The XRP Ledger has learned that lesson in public. When its automated market maker went live in March 2024, giving the network built-in on-chain liquidity pools for the first time, follow-up issues were identified soon afterwards and had to be patched through a series of additional fix amendments voted in separately. That episode reshaped the culture around releases. Since then, the default response to a critical finding during testing has been to remove the feature from the candidate release entirely rather than ship it and hope. It is slower, it frustrates developers waiting on new tools, and it delays products by months. But it means the bug is caught in a test net, not in someone's wallet balance. The build-up to today has been unusually visible. On the 20th of July 2026, coverage flagged that XRP Ledger validators were about to vote on what was described as the network's biggest upgrade in years. That framing matters, because Xrpl upgrades are normally incremental and technical rather than headline-grabbing. Now, less than a fortnight later, on the 1st of August, the reporting has shifted from anticipation to substance. The upgrade carries features that were previously shelved over critical bug findings. The sequence is the important part. Code was written, code was pulled, code was reworked, and only then was it put back in front of validators for a decision. That is a longer path than most competing networks take. Anyone tracking XRP purely on price charts will have missed this entirely, because none of it showed up as a dramatic candle. It showed up as a release note. Here is the mechanism most XRP holders have never had explained to them. Changes to the XRP Ledger arrive as amendments, and an amendment cannot simply be switched on by Ripple, by a foundation, or by any single company. It needs support from around 80% of trusted validators, and crucially, that support must hold continuously for roughly 2 weeks before activation. Momentary majorities count for nothing. If support dips below the threshold, the clock resets. That design gives every validator operator an effective veto. If enough of them refuse, the change never happens, regardless of who wrote it. It also explains why the network can afford to reintroduce previously pulled features. There is a fortnight-long public window in which anyone can inspect the code, raise an objection, and withdraw support. Slow governance is not a bug here. It is the safety mechanism doing its job. There is a hard consequence to all of this, and it hit the headlines in December 2025, when reporting warned that an XRP Ledger upgrade was set to lock out almost half of outdated nodes. The mechanism is called being amendment blocked. When an amendment activates and your server is running a version of the software that does not recognize it, that server deliberately stops processing. It refuses to validate or submit transactions rather than risk producing a version of the ledger that disagrees with everyone else. From the operator's perspective, the node simply goes dark. In practice, that means exchanges, wallet providers, payment processors, and block explorers running stale software can find their XRP services unavailable within minutes of activation. It is not a hack and it is not downtime in the usual sense. It is the protocol protecting consensus by sidelining anyone who did not upgrade in time. So what does any of this change for an ordinary XRP holder on the 1st of August? In the short term, probably nothing you will feel directly. Transactions still cost a fraction of a penny, and settlement still takes seconds. The real impact lands on the people building on top. Developers who had projects paused because a feature was withdrawn now have a path forward again, which affects roadmaps, funding decisions, and launch timings across the Xrpl ecosystem. For exchanges and custodians, the practical to-do list is blunt: check your node version, check it today, and check it again before any activation date. For traders, the signal is subtler but worth noting. Infrastructure upgrades that expand what the ledger can do tend to matter for long-term liquidity and application growth far more than any single day's price movement. This upgrade is not happening in isolation, and the competitive pressure is real. On the 22nd of July 2026, Aptos moved to let its largest stackers push transactions at up to 100 times the normal limit, an aggressive bid for high-throughput applications and institutional flow. That is the environment the XRP Ledger is operating in. Rival chains are advertising raw capacity and speed, while XRPL is advertising something less glamorous, a governance process that will pull working code out of a release if the risk is unacceptable, and a 2-week validator window before anything goes live. Those are genuinely different bets on what institutions want. One says move faster. The other says nothing breaks. Over the next 12 months, the settlement and tokenization business will effectively decide which argument it finds more persuasive, and the money will follow. Looking at the near term, the sensible expectation is a quiet fortnight followed by a decisive one. Because activation requires sustained validator support rather than a single vote, the meaningful checkpoint is not today's announcement but whether backing holds steady across the full window. Watch 3 things specifically. First, validator support levels, which are published openly and can be tracked day by day. Second, whether any operator publicly withdraws support after reviewing the reinstated code, since that is exactly what the process exists to allow. Third, upgrade notices from major exchanges, because those tell you who is prepared and who risks the amendment-blocked problem seen in December 2025. If support holds, expect activation and a wave of developer activity built on the restored functionality. If it slips, expect another delay, another round of fixes, and the same pattern repeating. Here is the point worth remembering from today, the 1st of August 2026. The headline says features once pulled over critical bugs are coming back, and that sounds like a risk. Read it the other way round. Those bugs were caught before activation, the features were removed rather than shipped, and now they return only after clearing a validator threshold that requires sustained agreement over 2 weeks. That is a network admitting fault publicly and then rebuilding trust through process rather than promises. If you hold XRP, the practical action is simple: follow the amendment votes, not just the price. If you run a node, update it. And if you are comparing chains, judge them not on how fast they ship, but on what they do when something goes wrong.